Greetings. It's always a pleasure and a joy to be out here greeting you out here in nature. Today I want to speak to you on a very, very important subject, especially if you're a melanated person. Okay, and for example, if you grew up in the Caribbean, you were brought up a certain way, you were schooled a certain way, and so you have a certain belief system. Well, it is about that I would like to speak to you about, and to let you know that as long as you have an open mind and you're willing to unlearn and relearn and reprogram your subconscious mind, that you will discover a lot of things about yourself that you never really know about. For example, if you were raised to have a very religious and superstitious mentality, it will block you from being open-minded. That is why I want to challenge you to check out the Bible that is in the link down below in my description, and it has been put together by me. Okay, and you'll find that the last book in the Bible is the book of Chronicles and not the book of Malachi. And I'm going to explain to you the reason for that and show you how you have been deceived all your life. Okay, now if you notice, right, in the book of Chronicles, you'll see where it always begins from one's birth to one's death. So it is basically showing you the chronicle of your life, which means that the book itself is an autobiography of your true spiritual identity, which is your divinity. But you can only discover that if you learn to look inwardly. But unfortunately, most people were taught to look outwardly. They were taught to look for a sky daddy. They were taught to look for a man in the sky. But when you discover that the power is within you, and you can definitely use that power to achieve your every desire, then you will understand why in my Bible that the Old Testament last book is the book of Chronicles. You see, in every country in the world that you go to, when someone dies, they would have what they call a funeral procession, and they would either use the radio or whatever form of communication they use to tell you about the life of this person who would have passed on. And that is the chronicle of their life they're showing you. But most people, especially if you grew up in the Caribbean, they were given the Bible and they were told never to question anything. And so they never really realized that when they read in the book of Chronicles and they read about, say, let's say, just use an example. Okay, let's say Hezekiah. They tell you when he born, they tell you about his life, who he married to, how much children he had, how much wives he had, and so on. And then they tell you how much years he lived for and what he would have accomplished, and then he passed on. It's your life. It's not about people who existed thousands of years ago. Okay, it's your spiritual autobiography that you must understand metaphysically and esoterically. You must understand it psychologically, because it's all about the mind. For as a man thinks, so is he. So your mind is what is shaping your life. So if you give your mind away for others to control, they will always control you and make you religious and superstitious. So that's why I'm saying to you that if you would like to, obtain a Bible that is different, that makes sense, then you can check out my description down below and you'll see my Bible there. Okay, it is called the 66 Books of Magic, the Overcomer's Bible. Do you know that you're a magician and that your word is your one? They don't want you to know that you're a magician. So they give you a fake magician with blue eyes and blonde hair. So they tell you this man turned water into wine. But if you have any common sense, you would realize that every seed and every species must and will always reproduce after its own kind. So you can't plant pumpkin and reap watermelon. Because the life that is in the pumpkin seed will bring forth pumpkin. And the life that is in the watermelon seed will bring forth watermelon. Well, use basic common sense. If the life of a man who existed 2,000 years ago, who walked this out with special powers, and he could have walked on water and turned water into wine, if he now lives in you, oh, you can't do the same thing. How come you can't do the same thing? How is it that you had to take an inoculation because you had loans and mortgages in 2020 to 2022? What a joke. It's such, you have to be definitely mentally retarded to believe that someone is going to appear from the sky and going to save you. You see, most people go to a job, okay? And why do you go to a job? Most people do not know the reason why they go to a job, okay? Because they meet everybody doing it. They come, they meet their parents, and the parents. They're doing it, so they just follow. So follow the follower. Okay, that is what's been going on. And until you learn to question things, you wouldn't realize that the Bible, okay, is actually a book of mind science. It's not a religious book. Okay, and I'm saying all of this because when you grow up in a colony, like an island that have been colonized, okay, and you've been given a colonial mentality, when you start to teach the people how to look inwardly and teach them the power of their mind, they will say, you're crazy. They will say, blasphemy. As a matter of fact, in my country, they will tell you, he's a crazy man. He lost his mind. However, in 2020, in the big pandemic, when I told people in my country that it was all a big pandemic, they say, oh, he's stupid. He crazy. That's what they said. And 99.99999% of people that goes to church on Saturdays and Sundays and who have a superstitious and a religious mentality, they had to take the inoculation. They had to take a poison in their body, and they had to sign that they cannot sue anyone if anything goes wrong with them. Because why? The very Bible that they read, that they go to church with, they don't read it. There's dust on it. So they brush off the dust on a Saturday and a Sunday, and then they go to hear the so-called orator. The pastor is actually an orator, okay, and he casting spell, telling them that they're no good, that they're sinners, and that they need a savior. And the people fail to realize that words are spells. When we used to go to school, they say, we're going to do spelling. It's casting spell. So he casting spell on you and telling you, he giving you the good spell, when it is actually the bad spell, because he's telling you, oh, how much you know good, how much you're limited, and how someone going to save you when you are the one who actually going to save yourself. So everyone was trying to save themselves a bit around 2020 to 2022. So they had to take the inoculation by force. Why? Because the lender the lender has power over the borrower. As a matter of fact, the borrower is actually a slave to the lender. And the very Bible that they read tells you that. He say that the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is a slave to the lender. But because most people still believe that the Bible is some religious book, and they have some man coming from the sky or some sky daddy coming to save them, okay, they're not open-minded enough. They will get hurt if you try to teach them the truth, okay? That is why this Bible that I'm offering you, you will never find the word Jesus Christ in that Bible. Okay, as a matter of fact, my Bible has a blank space where Jesus used to be, because I omit that completely out of the Bible. I omit Jesus completely out of the Bible, and I leave a blank space for you to write your name. You think the name that your parents, the two words that they call you by. Let's say your parents say your name John Jones. You think that's your real name? No. Your real name is I Am. That's your real name. Everybody in the world name I Am. Okay? You have to, before you can say you're weak, you're strong, you're rich, you're poor, you have to say I am. So when you read it now, you read it with I am. Okay? And when you read the Old Testament, you're finding that the last book of the Old Testament is the book of Chronicles. It's the chronicle of your life. Showing you that once you're having this human experience, how you're supposed to be in control of your mind. Because your mind is what would influence the things that you will do. Your mind is what would influence the things that you will say. Your mind is what would influence the places you will go. Your mind is what will influence the people you meet in life. Everything is based on the mind. We're living in a mental construct. Everything in this world that we used, where science and technology is concerned, it was for us a thought, it was for us an idea, it was for us imagine. So don't let anyone brainwash you to look to the sky for some man to come and save you. No one is going to come and save you. You got to save yourself. That's why I'm saying to you, get that Bible, the 66 books of magic. Magic and miracles are basically the same thing. And you're going to work miracles in your own life and prove that the redeeming power is within you, that the saving power is within you, and you're here seeking to find yourself. Okay, that's who you're looking for. You're looking for yourself, which is basically your higher self, your genius self, that intelligence, that intelligent part of your being. That is what you're seeking for. Okay, but they make you think that you're seeking here for some savior to come and save you. Okay, so my brother, my sisters, learn to believe in yourself, learn to love yourself, and learn to embrace in yourself. And there's a book that is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I would definitely encourage you to get that book and read that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That's the name of that book. I remember a religious person who called themselves a Christian was recommending that book, okay, as a self-development, self-improvement book that must read. And when it comes to pronounce the name of the book, he make it a full stop. He said, "This is the art of not giving," and he's afraid, okay, to say the word, yet he's reading the book. He's being such a hypocrite. So my brother, my sisters, don't ever be a hypocrite. Okay, be true to yourself, be real to yourself, and I'll be willing to learn new things. Okay, don't be one track minded. Okay, you see, as I mentioned earlier, mango will always bring forth mango. Okay, breadfruit will always bring forth breadfruit. Watermelon will always bring forth watermelon. Look at the religious system and you will see the same thing. An Adventist can't reproduce nothing else but an Adventist. A Jehovah's Witness can't reproduce anything else but a Jehovah's Witness. A Roman Catholic can't reproduce nothing else but a Roman Catholic. And what they do, okay, when you join yourself to these organizations, you become stagnated. You can't become anything else. And instead of you learning and growing and expanding in life, you become stagnated. Okay, but education is supposed to be a lifelong learning process. And a real educated person is a person who knows how to get anything that they desire in this world. So they don't have to kiss the behind of a politician, they don't have to kiss the behind of a preacher, they don't have to kiss the behind of anyone, because they know that they have inside of them a power, a currency. Okay, and that currency, you can transmute it to money. That's how money come into this world. Do you know that money was for us a thought? It was for us an idea. It was for us imagine. So, my brother, my sisters, do not let anyone brainwash you or deceive you to make you believe that the Bible is a religious book. No, it's a book of mind science. That's why I change it. Okay, and I remove Jesus out of it. And I leave that blank space for you to write your name. And that is why I change the Old Testament and I make the last book of the Old Testament to be the book of Chronicles, because the last thing would be the chronicle of your life when you leave here, and then they would read your death announcement. That is the chronicle. It's your spiritual autobiography, okay, that you must understand psychologically, you must understand it metaphysically and esoterically. But unfortunately, they give you the interpretation of the Bible exoterically. That's why they have you looking outwardly, thinking that a man gonna come from the sky to save you. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, I want to thank you very much for listening to me. And I want to say to you, if you haven't read any of my books as yet, all of the links are down below and you can get that Bible. It's called the 66 Books of Magic. Magic and miracle just mean the same thing. I use the word magic to scare away religious people. I don't want religious people to get my book, okay? But those people who are open-minded and people who are spiritual, you can get it, okay? Because the Bible is not a bad book if you understand it the right way. Okay, so I'll definitely encourage you to get that book. Also, if you haven't subscribed already, I'm encouraging you to subscribe, to like, to comment, to share this video. Okay? And if you like to do a one-on-one with me, you can definitely do a one-on-one with me if you reach out to me on an app called Faithia. So you can reach out to me on an app called Faithia for our one-on-one. So my last encouragement to you is to make sure that you check out all of the links that are down below. And definitely let your intuition lead you and guide you into what to do. So with that besides, I want to say peace. Love you all. I'm out.